The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the head advocate of the Big Titty Committee of 69 Whiskey.
Did somebody say titties?
And the undercover brother of the Bromigos podcast, Matt here. And it's time for my homeboy, Chef Aaron, to cook up another great episode of the I Had to Say It podcast.
Hey guys, Aaron here. Now, you're probably used to hearing me stick my ad in here for horribledesigns.com. And in my general need to try and improve things and keep things fresh and topical, it's time for a new ad for horribledesigns.com. So here it is. Go to horribledesigns.com, get t-shirts, get mugs, get stickers, get mouse pads, get stuff, get swag with a bunch of humorous things on it, pictures, commentary, little thoughts and ideas. And for being a loyal listener of the show, you can get 15% off your total purchase price by using the code I had to say it at checkout. And that's all one word. I had to say it. Only available at horribledesigns.com. Hey everybody, so welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. We're going to start out as we do. Josh, Jake, B-Word, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, and Javier. Thank you guys for the support. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. I really do. This is just a reminder, if you would like to hear your name mentioned with these other fantastic folks, all you got to do is go to Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon and find I Had to Say It and sign up to support the show. Or you can go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com and find the links available there. Now, as much as I hate to push the whole, give me money thing, I generally do appreciate the support from the people who do it. You guys don't have to. You're under no obligations whatsoever. I'm probably not the best individual when it comes to, adding extra shit in for that, but the support means a lot to me, and I'm trying to be better about that. I've got a lot of stuff planned. I just have to get the execution part down, and as soon as I get some things that are going on in my regular life under control, hopefully I'll be able to dedicate a little more time to the podcast and get these things done that you guys so very much deserve from me. And that will conclude the original audio portion of this episode of I Had to Say It. I'm not entirely sure what I did, but the episode that was supposed to post today, well, she gone. I apologize for those of you who didn't get a chance to start your Tuesday off with the melodious tones of my voice. I'm sorry for fucking up your routine. I am fine. Everything is fine. Just, I can't even blame technical glitches on this one. I'm pretty sure I did something stupid and messed up the file because I'm still having some issues with Spotify, and I was trying to do a workaround, and I think I fucked up. And that was what I was able to recover. So anyway, welcome to the special July 4th Happy Birthday America celebration, short notice, on the fly, thrown together episode of I Had to Say It. And as I sit here, fairly well sunburned and more or less exhausted after the weekend shenanigans, where I was actually caught off guard and kind of surprised. Now, just to bring anybody who hasn't heard up to pace, I have an interesting relationship with a lot of my neighborhood people. And I have certain things that I just really don't cotton to. And some of my neighbors are pretty good. Some of them are a little questionable. This past weekend, on the upside, they were, understanding enough about, don't shoot your fireworks off over our brand new, not even finished yet, being constructed replacement for where we just had a fire a few months ago. But I did have some people at the neighbor's house who were literally shooting off commercial grade fireworks, ridiculously, and they were doing that over the weekend, and I didn't talk about it in the episode, but I'm going to talk about it now since I'm kind of doing this off the cuff, because honestly, between a combination of being outside and doing way too much physical labor today and being just kind of fried because I haven't slept well in days, and I don't see that getting any better because I am lobster pink right now. My head is burned. I am a full-on redneck, but so yeah, I'm interjecting extra material. So yeah, my crazy ass neighbors were shooting off ridiculously loud 4-inch mortars, and it was a lot to deal with. My dog was terrified. My cat was terrified. I'm sure anybody in the neighborhood with PTSD was probably fully set off, and it kind of got me thinking. I mean, like I said, they tried to at least be a little reasonable, like not shooting them off over our house or anything, but still, they were shooting them off over their house, and the concussion from the launching and the concussion from the explosions were definitely loud and noticeable, and I generally try not to be a dick. The only thing I can say is they actually did kind of pack it up at a fairly reasonable hour. They weren't going till like 2 o'clock in the morning. They knocked it off at like 10:30. So I'm not trying to complain. I'm just kind of, it's one of those things that's on my mind where if you're going to do something like that, at least try and be somewhat considerate. At least if people come to talk to you about it, at least don't be a douche, you know? And where I live, admittedly, fireworks are illegal. This kind of stuff should not have been going on according to the law of the land. Now, I'm still kind of the mindset of the law of the land should be, as long as you're not hurting anybody, you do you, boo-boo. But I don't believe prohibition works, and this is a prime example of prohibition doesn't work. That's why I'm not in support of the war on drugs or the war on crime or any of these other so-called wars that the government likes to bring up, because they're not good at it. They don't function effectively. They don't do anything to actually address the situation, because the only people that are impacted by it are people that are going to follow the law in the first place. You don't find a lot of criminals that are going to say, oh, well, this is illegal, I shouldn't be doing it. So technically, yes, my neighbors are all criminals, because I'm pretty sure we're the only house in the neighborhood that didn't shoot off any fireworks over the last few days. So technically, yes, everybody in the neighborhood's a criminal. Didn't see hide nor hair of a single cop all weekend, but it's neither here nor there. But the way people don't follow these laws, and everybody, just kind of shrugs it off and looks at it and kind of looks the other way, although you do occasionally get the little Karen who likes to call the police and file complaints because there's fireworks going off and da-da-da-da-da. And I'll be honest, I don't call the cops for things like that. I call the police for legitimate reasons when there's a legitimate threat to someone's health or safety. It's the only time I'm going to call the police, and when it comes to my family's health and safety, I will call the police as an afterthought to come clean the mess up. When seconds matter, the police are minutes away, no matter how close they are, and that's why you have to be responsible for your own health and safety and well-being. That's just being a responsible adult. Now, something else I'm seeing as I do my usual perusing of the social media stuff just to kind of get up to speed on what's going on before I sit down in front of the mic, which, by the way, people, is part of my process, just so you know that. Before I sit down and record an episode, I usually want to make sure I get the most current information on certain subjects, so I'm not going off half-cocked if I can help it about stupid things. One of the things I've noticed today is there's two real camps right now. There's all the politicians that are like, oh, God bless America, we're doing what we can to, live up to the founders' dreams and da-da-da-da-da. And realistically, it's all people who have made careers out of shitting on the founding principles of this country. It's just the way it is. They do it without any kind of sense of hypocrisy or anything else because they are career assholes, and this is what they do. It's really not worth even acknowledging it. And other than a few accounts that I make a point of just trolling every time I see a post of theirs cross one of my timelines, because fuck these people. And then you've got all the virtue signaling far-left fuckwits that are like, oh, well, until America changes its policies and stops oppressing people, I'm not going to celebrate it. Or you get happy, 4th of July on stolen indigenous lands. That's one of my favorites, actually. Stolen is really the wrong term. Conquered, colonized. Yeah, they're more accurate. But see, here's the thing about it. It's not stolen, and we can't give it back. And one of the things I saw that absolutely blew my fucking mind is the ass clowns at Ben & Jerry's, who, they make okay ice cream, and they are definitely way too just, I don't even want to say woke. They're so full of shit. Like, oh, well, this land should be restored to its indigenous holders. Well, there's really not a lot of documentation to show who held what and who had legitimate claims to what, other than, oh, white man bad. And second off, basically for a company that spouts all kinds of far-left, damn near communistic bullshit, they really don't have a problem charging $7 a fucking pint for ice cream, and I don't see them offering to give up their factories and to fucking move to some country that more aligns closely with their values, like, say, North Korea or Cuba or whatever. So I would like to personally tell Ben and Jerry's to go take a flying fuck at a rolling donut. There's a flavored name for you. Flying fuck at a rolling donut. Because you're a bunch of like virtue signaling ass bags. And anybody else who's got this attitude of, oh, well, I don't want to celebrate America because it's on stolen land or people are oppressed or whatever. You are so much better off here that you actually have the liberty to say these fucking things and to cop your shit attitude. And I'm pretty much guarantee any of these assholes who got the day off of work because it's the 4th of July, they didn't volunteer to come in and work for free because they don't believe in celebrating the founding of this country. That allows them to have the attitude that they have this utter bullshit. So, yeah, frankly, fuck all of those people. Fuck the politicians. Fuck the people who are saying, America doesn't deserve to be celebrated or any of this other bullshit. Anybody who shows patriotism or any kind of support for this country is getting called, racists and bigots and all kinds of other shit because they happen to love the country that allows you the attitude to shit on your neighbors for having beliefs that you don't agree with. So, frankly, fuck anybody. And if you're listening to me at this point, I'm pretty sure you don't have any of those beliefs. But if you do, you can go fuck yourself too. If you're spite listening to this, or if you're listening to this for the first time and you think I'm a huge asshole for thinking you should appreciate the country you're in, you should appreciate the freedoms you have, and you should not be a massive fucking douchebag who wants to sit around and bitch about how people, particularly if you don't fall into the quote-unquote victimized individual category yourself, I'm talking to you white saviors and bored housewives who need some other shit to do. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Seriously, you're not doing anybody any favors. You're just pathetic. So, and speaking of pathetic, there have been some things that have been going on recently, and I'm going to try and at least touch on them briefly because that's what I did, and I really did try to put a good episode together. And like I said, I fucked up. I made a boo boo. Aaron screwed up pretty significantly and lost all his audio. Dum dum dum. But one of the things I want to touch on briefly, at least, is the Supreme Court recently ruled that colleges can no longer use affirmative action as criteria for who they're going to admit as students because it's fucking racist. And they did this because it's fucking racist. It's a direct violation of principles that this country was founded on. Like, it was a step towards returning towards meritocracy, towards saying the most qualified individual should be the one getting the spot. Now, the pushback was immediate from the left. You can't do this. Oh, my God, that's racist. It's discriminatory. Telling somebody you cannot choose one candidate over another based on the color of their skin is in no way, shape, or form racist. It's literally the opposite of racist. Saying gender ethno-identity needs to be removed from your fucking criteria when you're reviewing student qualifications is not racist. And frankly, all the people who are saying that they think this should be reinstated and affirmative action should be this and that, and there have been some talking heads out there. There are well-known vocal leftists who have come out and said, like, I wouldn't have gotten into my college if it wasn't for affirmative action. That's really not the flex you think it is. Even though your stupid ass somehow managed to build a following where you feel the need to go out on social media and on news programs and on public interviews and tout the fact that you only got an education because you were a fucking diversity quota fill, it's not a good look. That means you were not qualified on merit. You did not deserve the spot you got. You took that spot from somebody who was probably more qualified but the wrong complexion to take that position. So you shouldn't be out there bragging about it. You shouldn't be out there trying to use that as a flex like, oh, well, I'm an example of why affirmative action is a good thing because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gotten my college degree. Well, you know what, bitch? You didn't deserve it. I'm really sorry that, oh, well, you got into Harvard because you were an affirmative action fill and you think that somehow justifies that it should exist. No, you shouldn't have gotten into fucking Harvard. You should have been going to Shecky's house of fucking MBAs where you belong because that's where your scores and your grades and your aptitude fucking said you should be. But That's not the case. And all of a sudden, the U.S. Supreme Court says, no, that is going to be the case. And the typical meltdown comes. And the leftist assholes are out here in force on social media talking about, oh, well, we need to redraw this. We need to add more justices. We need to flood the bench. Justices shouldn't be, they should be accountable. They should be held to an ethics board. They should be reelected every so many years. Yeah, that just further shows how much you don't understand the way the government's supposed to be set up. They're not supposed to be subject to political whims. They're supposed to be there to exist, to interpret and apply the Constitution to laws passed by Congress and make sure they don't violate it. That is the purpose of the Supreme Court. And when they actually do this and they say a law is not following the strictures of being constitutional, they are doing their fucking job. But just because you don't like it doesn't mean that's not how it's supposed to be going. And another thing, if you are one of the people who wants to sit out here and bitch and whine about how affirmative action should exist because people can't make it on their own merit, and frankly, if you think that's the case, you think we're at a point in our history where the color of your skin is more important than your skills when it comes to getting placed into a job, and so on their behalf, you have to make sure there's a law in place to make sure that they are getting preferential treatment because otherwise they wouldn't be getting it at all. You're part of the problem. You're a racist motherfucker because you seem to think people of non-white ethnic origin can't compete on a level playing field. That's racist as fuck. I mean, we really need to get back to this point of not seeing color, not seeing the insignificant shit. I've said that pretty much from the jump of this podcast, and I've said that my entire life. I don't give a fuck what you look like. I don't give a fuck what you identify as. I don't give a fuck who your ancestors were. None of that shit's relevant to me. What I care about is, are you useful? Are you good at what you do? Are you the best person for whatever the case may be? And if you're not, I don't want you in that fucking position. I firmly believe that if you are one of these people out here beating your drum about we need affirmative action and we need quotas and we need to make sure people of non-white, yada, 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 there's a certain amount of them in each position. We have to make sure there's forced diversity in every single position. You shouldn't be allowed to request the most qualified doctor. You should get whoever the fuck they're giving you. You should actually, technically, you should be given diversity hires. Maybe you'll luck out and that diversity hire will be amazing at whatever they're doing. Maybe if you're in the hospital and your form says, hey, I voted in favor of affirmative action, I believe in quotas and diversity hires, you get whoever got hired for that fucking position to fill that quota. You don't get to say, I want the best doctor in the hospital. You get whoever was hired to fill whatever particular checkbox. If you think that that's adequate, that's right, you should not get to reap the benefits of the highest skilled individual. You should get a diversity hire. And I think if that were the case, if your preferences were like public knowledge and your vocal support for these kind of things were going on, you should get the diversity hires at whatever service you are going to, whether it be you get a diversity hire tax accountant, you get a diversity hire heart surgeon. You get the person that was put there to fill the quota, not the person who was necessarily the best one to do the fucking job. Maybe you'll get lucky and it was somebody that got hired in based on filling a quota that actually is amazing at the fucking job. But realistically, if they were amazing enough to get the job because they were amazing, the quota wouldn't fucking matter. They would have gotten hired anyway. No, you get the ones that were specifically hired because it was the best quota fill they could find. And that's what I think you should get if you're pushing this shit. Otherwise, be good at what you're doing and you don't have to worry about fucking quotas. Otherwise, realize you suck at what you're doing and move on. Find something you're actually decent at besides whining and bitching. And speaking of things that people like to whine and bitch about, the Supreme Court also struck down Biden's stance that he was going to pay off all this college debt. All the tuition payments that he was talking about, the $10,000 per person, yada, yada, yada. Because, again, the whole you don't have that authority, sleepy. And, the left, we're going to find another path for this and da-da-da-da-da. I would like to remind anybody that actually thinks this is a good thing. First off, if you have student loan debt, you have student loan debt. The rest of the country doesn't have fucking student loan debt. You do. The property they were going to put forth was $10,000 to 40 million people, right? Now, here's the problem with that. That 40 million people is about 14% of the country. So the other 86% of the country Or I'm sorry, 86. Yeah, my math it's hot. But anyway, the other 86% of the country gets an increased tax liability to offset the payments of these 40 million assholes. And again, people are, oh, well, I don't have a problem paying for this because education should be free. Look here, Martha, if you are a stay-at-home wife and you're using your husband's checks to pay the bills, I don't give a fuck if you don't have a problem with it. If you are in a position where you have enough extra income that you want to help pay off somebody's student loan debt, get off your ass, go find somebody. There's plenty of bitches out there whining about their student loan debt. Go find one of those assholes and give them the money directly so they can pay the bills. Odds are they're not going to do it. They're going to spend it on whatever fucking weak germ fucking gender studies debate team bullshit they got into where they spent $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on a degree that doesn't pay shit. So, yeah, I really don't think that's a good thing. And leave those of us who said you took the fucking loan and you fucking owe it alone. Now, if they want to actually address these issues, they should do something about the predatory lending. I do have friends who, borrowed $50,000 and have paid it off 2 or 3 times over at this point and still owe money, which is utter horseshit. But my sympathy for them is tempered, even though these are people that I consider my friends, because nobody held a gun to your head and said you had to do it. Particularly with my generation and people my age who are bitching about this shit still. It's like, look, you made a bad fucking choice. I had the same options you had. I didn't have the grades to get scholarships, and if I wanted an education, I had the option of paying for it for myself or taking out loans. I didn't do that. I didn't take out loans. I didn't go to the college I wanted to go to because I couldn't afford it. I made an adult decision and said, I don't want to be in debt up to my fucking tits because I want to go to this college and have a piece of paper that may or may not land me a job that will get me back in the black in another 20 fucking years. And it's sad that we don't teach enough fiscal responsibility and common sense in high school when we're building these kids before they sign these loans. But that's the case. They're dumb. And that's one of the reasons why I'm in favor of raising the voting age. I think if you can't legally rent a car yourself, you shouldn't be fucking voting because you're fucking stupid and easily manipulated. It's kind of a reoccurring thread on this thing is these young, dumb Gen Z motherfuckers that are out here like, oh, we're out here in volume and we're changing the world. You elected your great-grandpa to fucking office and he's sleepwalking us into World War fucking III because you're young, stupid, and easily manipulated and you think you're making these great changes. You are keeping the people who created the situation you're pissed off about in power. You are a fucking idiot. And that's why I think the voting age should be raised. And the other thing about this is the people that are saying, oh, well, it's not fair that an 18-year-old entered into a contract and is being bound with this massive amount of debt. As an adult, they still want these idiots to vote. And these are by and wide the same assholes who seem to think a 12-year-old can decide they want to go on puberty blockers and transition because they might be confused because media is shoving it down their face that they must be trans. They can't just be, gay, which could be. They must be in the wrong body because they feel like they want to be they like boys, but they were born a boy. They must be in the wrong body and they need to transition. No, motherfucker, you're gay. Deal with it. It's not a bad thing. I have people that I know that I love dearly that are gay, and you know what? That means nothing to me because we're not dating. They're not trying to, do anything strange to me. They're respectful and kind people. Who they're fucking is completely fucking irrelevant. They're decent human beings. That's all that fucking matters. So, yeah, no, you don't get to have it both ways. You can't tell me that 18-year-olds can't enter into legally binding contracts wherein they owe a shit ton of money after they get their useless fucking degrees, and then in the same breath tell me that a 10-year-old can tell their mom they want to be on puberty blockers. And any one of these assholes who are sitting here going, well, it's your responsibility to listen to what your children tell you, and it's your responsibility as a parent. Your responsibility as a parent is to protect your kids from themselves and teach them how to be functioning adults, not to indulge their every bullshit idea and tell them that whatever they think must be fucking right. They're children. Children are notoriously undeveloped when it comes to things like thinking about long-term effects, thinking about actual consequences for their fucking actions. Children are notoriously useless in that particular faction. So if you think children should be able to make these permanent life-altering decisions, but you don't think they should have to pay the bill on their fucking useless diploma, you are a fucking dolt and you can go take a flying fuck too.
Download, subscribe, and listen to Whiskey Hill Podcast. We're the new show that doesn't hold back on today's ridiculousness. We're not on the right and we're not on the left. We call it the way we see it, and we're going to make you laugh while doing it. Throw in some great craft beer, and you cannot lose. Download Whiskey Hell Podcast anywhere you enjoy listening, and check out whiskeyhellpod.com for more.
All right, so throwing that in there, that's friends of the show, the Whiskey Hell Podcast. I strongly encourage that if you really want to get better informed versions of the stuff I talk about, you go check them out, sign up, follow them. They are a great listen. They are good guys, and I can't say that enough. And speaking of things I can't really say enough, I know I already stuck my ad for Horrible Designs in here, but there is something I want to, before I forget about it again, they are doing something that's really cool. Horrible Designs has partnered with the Mad Case Studios, who is a Midwest guy, small business artist, does some amazing paintings, does like guy-themed kind of stuff, really, most of it, too. He does, like, tiki stuff and badass cars, and he's an amazing artist. They've partnered together. Horrible Designs has a whole line of the Mad K artwork on different merchandise to check out. So before I forget about that, go check that out. I promise you will not regret it. It's really cool shit, and you can, even just, liven up your desk with a new mouse pad. I really like the Tiki one myself, but all of Ken's stuff, Ken is the guy who owns Mad Case Studios. All of Ken's artwork is amazing, and he's a great guy. You can actually find him on social media. Check out his information. I'll put a link in the show notes to like the Facebook group and webpage and stuff like that. And he's got some videos showing him doing the art, and it's really impressive stuff, and you should really check it out. So anyway, but yeah, that's enough about that. Now to get back to the other thing I want to talk about, and this literally is just something that came up just in the last couple of hours, where we're on the crust of this possibly happened, the precipice, if you will. Now, it's been building for a couple weeks where they're implying there's going to be a nuclear disaster in the Ukraine. They're saying that it's possible that they're going to have a reactor be sabotaged and explode and release nuclear fallout. And they're going to say it was the Russians. They are going to be actively trying to draw us into this. Zelensky was literally today out there calling on President Biden to convince NATO to emergency add Ukraine to NATO's membership. Now, there's a huge problem with this. Zelensky doesn't have any problem being this fuckstain who has drawn out this conflict, because why wouldn't he? He's getting all kinds of backing and funding from the U.S. Money's gone missing. Money's unaccounted for. He's got no answers. All he can say is, we need more fucking money. They've been given resources. They've been given weapons. They've been giving missile systems. I'm at the point where it's like the administration has no interest in resolving this issue. I, from the jump, have been saying this should have been solved diplomatically. I am not pro-war by any stretch of the imagination. I'm even less pro-war when we are standing on the edge of World War fucking III. And that's exactly what happens if the Ukraine is given emergency admission to NATO. First off, the NATO bylaws, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong. I'm not taking the time to look it up right now, but I'm pretty sure you can't be actively engaged in a war and be granted admission to NATO. And with Putin having moved nuclear missiles into Belarus, there's all kinds of potential for issues there. There's people talking about they think that Belarus will be launching missiles into Poland, which is a NATO country, but I really don't think Putin is trying to kickstart World War III. And that's exactly what will happen if that happens. I think it's a lot more likely that there will be some sort of internal sabotage, and they will be blamed on Russian forces by the Ukraine and by the people that are supporting this conflict and are in favor of drawing it out. Since our president is a giant fucking war hawk and he's completely in bed with the military and industrial complex, he's not going to do anything about this. If he was any kind of real diplomatic leader, he would have been trying to push for peace from the jump. That's why when the president of China started pushing for it, if nothing else, just to prevent the Chinese from being the ones who brokered the peace, they should have stopped funding the fight and said, look, we need to come to diplomatic conclusion. Particularly now that the counteroffensive by the Ukraine has more or less failed. And that's why Zelensky is now saying, well, we need this emergency mission. You need to come help us. You need to come to our defense. No, the fuck we don't. I'm sorry. You tried, you lost. We do not need to be drawn into World War III over this ridiculousness. We do not need to be continuing and escalating this fucking fight. You should have been trying to resolve things through diplomatic means from the get-go. And anyway, one of the big reasons why I think it's not real likely that, I mean, there have been reports saying July 5th is going to be the day where this attack's going to happen. There have been quote-unquote intelligence leaks saying this is going to be happening, yada, yada, yada. Here's the problem with the existing wind currents and the way the airflow is going right now. This nuclear fallout's all going to be going right over the Russian army. I really doubt that Russia is stupid enough to sabotage a nuclear power plant and dump toxic shit all over their own people. So if this does happen, if God forbid there's a huge nuclear accident in the Ukraine, please do not allow yourself to be drawn into this knee-jerk bullshit of we have to come to this because the Russians did nuke bad. No, because that fallout is all going to be blowing over their own troops. Regardless of the fact that they are involved in a conflict, they're not going to fucking blow up a nuclear power plant and take out their own troops at the same time. It's bad strategy. It makes no fucking sense. And if you buy into it, you deserve to go over there and be one of the first ones sent off to fight, because my kid's not going. And I'm pretty sure most of the people I know aren't going to let their kids go either. So, and particularly since the U.S. is in such a weak position right now, the United States military is something like 20% below recruiting targets right now. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with the, like drag queen representative of the Navy and the Air Force LGBTQ pro individuals they're using as spokesmen. They're trying to bring more diversity in instead of trying to bring soldiers in, and it's not going to end well. We're not in any kind of position to be getting into a fight with countries that actually want to do us harm and see us get fucked up. So, yeah, just, maybe calmer head should rule the day than the senile old bastard and whoever's pulling his fucking strings, because I refuse to believe he's actually in any sort of actual authority or control, because he's not. He can't make it through a speech that's written on cue cards with fucking instructions on it without fucking up. He's not the one helming this shit. And the assholes who think he's doing this great job and they're all pro, 4 more years and blah, 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 blah. A, I don't think the bastard has 4 more years. And B, are you fucking stupid? You seriously think he's the one controlling things? No, you're just happy that your side won, and that's fucking pathetic. It's weak-minded. We need to get out of this two-party bullshit. We need to get back into individual liberties and individual rights and responsibilities. And I guess because it's the 4th of July and I'm tired, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord. Come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.